And it's like, dude, first of all, you're an idiot. And secondly, Anuj Pachel, my love-hate relationship with the medical field.
There are some days where I feel like this is the profession which is the best. There is nothing else in the entire world. There are some days I wish I could change it into something better. There are some days where I wish I could change my profession and start something new. And I feel like everybody who starts working in a hospital has this feeling inside their head.
I think that people have that feeling in a lot of different professions because it's essentially grass is always greener on the other side. We don't understand the cost and the downside of a profession that we think looks good. We just focus on the sexy highlights. That's like me idolizing being a Formula One race car driver and not understanding the cost. I'm sure it's still a dope life, but I don't understand what those costs are.
Disclaimer isn't it because I am not making this video to motivate you or to demotivate you or to neutralize you. That's not my point. My point is to show you the facts. And only through the facts will you be able to decide what is good for you. Because nobody told me the reality when I was studying for the examination or when I was in the field. So if you want to be motivated or demotivated.
Hell yeah, man. I respect that. That's what we're all about too as well. Med School Insiders, I mean the whole channel, plus So You Want to Be, on this channel, Day in the Life, the Med School Insiders blog. I think it's so important to actually give people the facts, the truth about what the medical profession is so that they can decide, because medicine is an overrated field. And out of 100 people, I've said this many times, but out of 100 people that go into medicine, 70 of them will be happy, but 30 of them will not. And you want to decide, are you part of that 70 or that 30? And then make that decision with your eyes wide open.
For the first time in your life, you're not thinking about studies. This was your dream, wasn't it? You wanted to be a doctor. Dreamt of seeing patients, of understanding their disease and treating it. But amidst the overcrowded OPDs and the IPDs, there is seldom any time for you to practice what you've been perfecting for the last thousands of hours in the last 4 years. The idealist inside will think, okay, this is what it actually takes to become a doctor. Oh my God, but I have the passion. I want to do it. I will do it. But over time, a realist inside you will emerge. And that realist will make you realize one thing, is that our system is training us to be machines. Machines very, very efficient. Machines that do not require sleep. Machines that do not require food. Machines that do not feel emotions. Machines that do not feel pain.
A system, as the years go on, it looks like India has similar issues as the US in some ways at least. The system is often focused on extracting as much value as they can from its workers. That's how you maximize profit, increase growth. And that's a pretty strong counterpoint to the current systems we have in the US for healthcare. And I think a lot of younger people, when you're starting med school, the average age starting med school is somewhere in your early to mid 20s, like 24-ish. And when you're making your decision in your late teens to early 20s to go into medicine, you're made out of rubber and magic. You can compromise on your sleep. You can get away with so much that you just can't 10 years later or even 5 years later. That's why it's so important for people to truly understand what you're sacrificing to go into medicine, because it is one thing to go 3 hours of sleep here and there, whatever. But doing it day after day after day, not having any free time to yourself, grinding hard, that's a totally different existence. It might be more feasible when you're in your early to mid 20s. It's gonna be a lot harder when you're in your early to late 30s.
If 50 years from now, machines are taking the jobs of junior doctors, I wouldn't care, because I knew that this is exactly what the system is training us to do. Why is it making us machines? Because we need to be as efficient, as fast as machines in India.
Efficiency, productivity.
I've seen people take various number of suicide attempts. I've seen people getting onto medications. I've seen people getting into addictions just because the workload is too high.
Same issue in the US, the epidemic amongst physicians and medical trainees of burnout, depression, and suicide. The numbers are staggering. And it sounds like the same thing is happening in India too.
If you go to an airport and you hear a pilot saying, I haven't slept for 36 hours, man. I feel very tired. I just want to go back home. I just want to spend some time with my family. I've not seen them since so many weeks. I don't want to drive this plane. Will you trust that pilot to fly a plane over a great sea, over a great ocean?
Isn't that so interesting that when it comes to truck drivers and pilots, very strict standards as to how much they can work in a continuous segment, whereas for physicians, there's nothing like that. We have this suggestion of an 80-hour work week restriction, which is like, kind of averaged over a month, but not really enforced. And even then, the restrictions they do have, they're either jokes or they're totally ignored. Like having an actual post-call day after you're on call. Most of us don't get that at all. Do you really want your surgeon to be operating on you if he hasn't slept in 36, 38, 40 hours? Obviously not. I remember when I was on call, and of course this is gonna vary based on the city, the specialty, the hospital, but I just remember being go, go, go for 33 hours nonstop, barely had time to eat, barely had time to use the bathroom, no sleep, just patients, 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 onto the next, onto the next. And obviously at the end of 33 hours, I'm not gonna be as fresh, as sharp, or as providing as quality care as I could at the beginning. And then you have some people that comment being like, oh, these doctors are just complaining, just, suck it up. And it's like, dude, first of all, you're an idiot. And secondly, you're missing the point. it's not even about the doctors, it's about the patients.
And I totally bet you that if there was no penalty for dropping out, if there was not a barrier of 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs of quitting your residency in between, and there was no bonds, you would see residents quitting at an unimaginable rate. And the only thing that is stopping people from quitting is the huge amount of money.
So a lakh, correct me if I'm wrong, is 100,000 rupees, and that translates to $1,200 US at the time of this recording. That is a primary factor in the US as well. The average grad has about $250,000 in debt when they start residency, and during residency, depending on the payment amounts they can make, usually it's ballooning to larger than that because it's accruing more interest at a faster rate than they can actually make those minimum payments, right? If you have $250,000 in debt, then you feel like you are pressured, you need to finish this path to then be able to pay that off, versus quitting and doing something else. And then there's also like the sunk cost fallacy. There's the shame people feel, the judgment they're apprehensive of, receiving from friends and family and loved ones and coworkers. When I quit residency, I understood those, but I was also fortunate that I worked hard and I got a merit-based scholarship, so I had very little in student loans, and I was able to make the decision that was best for me. But that decision becomes so much harder when you have $250,000 hanging over you.
What is criticism? Criticism is somebody sees you making a mistake. They notice it, they examine it, they scold you for it sometimes, and then they teach you exactly how to do it. For example, a first-year obs and gynae resident trying to suture the episiotomy probably takes the suture wrong. The senior resident or the JR2, JR3 yells at her, try to scold her for the mistake, but immediately they hold her hands and show her how to do the procedure. That, my friends, is criticism. Criticism is careful evaluation, followed by the teaching of the correct technique to whoever you are criticizing.
Yeah, slight language differences, constructive criticism or feedback. I think we're fortunate that in the US, at least based on my limited experience at however many programs I rotated at and whatnot, I think education is very much at the forefront. We definitely prioritize that, and it sounds like in India, maybe they don't, which I think is really sad because there is, obviously that's how you train the future generation to provide the best quality care, but also as the teacher, it's actually really rewarding. It's a fun experience. I remember even in med school, I was an anatomy TA, and I would teach the first year med students about anatomy, and I would do the pro sections, and it was fun. It actually helped reinforce my own learnings as well. That's a reason why a lot of us did it. The graduating MS4s, fourth year med students who go into something surgical, right? They want to then practice that and hone their skills before they get to their residency. But the other thing I want to comment on here is that I have seen some people complain that in the US they're not able to do enough in the operating room, as an example. And I use the operating room because it is very procedural, obviously, but this applies to other areas too. It's a two-way relationship. You can't expect your higher up, your senior, to just let you do everything and then cause issues and wreak havoc on this live patient who you don't want to have any complications with. You want to provide the best quality care. So it's about upping your own skill, your own level of knowledge, your own foundation so that they feel comfortable letting you do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here with Dr. Anuj. That's a separate issue, but to my US viewers, if you're an MS3, MS4, PGY1 and you're like, oh, I'm just retracting all the time, it could be the program, but it could also be you're not providing your senior with the necessary level of foundation and comfort for them to let you do the things that you want to do.
One story which one of my friends told me was that a young resident had joined in one of the units, not my college, some other college, very, very reputed. And there were 3 seniors of him that used to every day physically abuse him in the side room. Used to make him do things which I even can't talk on camera. He tolerated all of this for 1 month. But his mind was something different. And one day he snapped. Not in a way that you think he did. He did not commit suicide, my friends. He used both of his fists to break the nasal bones of the people that were causing him that much torture. So that's how it is. If you are trying to perpetuate toxicity, there are some people who will be submissive, who will take it easily. But if you go beyond, there are certain people who might snap, and they might snap any of your bones or maybe your neck at some point.
I think a lot of it's displacement. These the people who are doing these egregious things, it was done to them, or they're feeling really frustrated and helpless and they're lashing out in other ways. Not healthy, not fair, not okay at all. And I think it's unfortunate certain specialties seem to be self-selecting for that, because let's say a certain surgical specialty is very toxic. The people who are then going to want to go into that are generally more tolerant of that, or they're okay with it, and they're the ones who are going to keep doing that in the future. And it's a really bad cycle. It's a self-reinforcing, perpetuating cycle.
I tell you, there are days of my life where I spend the most amazing time with my seniors. that I wish I could relive those days. I had 12-hour shifts, I had night duties, I had emergency duties. I had such a heavy workload in the trauma care center. But if somebody were to give me the posting again for a year, but with the 2 residents I worked with, I would do it again. And the reason is they were not at all toxic. They were critics. They used to guide me, they used to correct me, they used to teach me. But never once did they ever be toxic to me.
Dude, that reminds me of some really challenging away rotations. I remember this one where I was working 19-hour days back to back the whole week. We were on triple call, face, plastics, and hand. And it was so challenging. At the end of the week, I was exhausted, obviously, sleeping 2-3 hours every night. But I remember there were a lot of highs as well because I'm working with these people that I really enjoy. It's usually a resident who's a few years older than you. They can still relate to where you are in training, but they have this mentality of like wanting to teach and like let you do stuff and push your own boundaries. And him speaking about that reminds me that those moments, I wish that they were just the norm all the time.
This probably is the most important chapter of this video. So if you ask me when did I decide to become a doctor, man, my honest answer to you would be when I decided maths was not for me. That is when it was automatically decided for me that you're going to be a doctor. A path was created in front of me that I had to walk.
I guess I'm Indian, and the Indian way, I guess, is either engineer or doctor. So math, engineer, so he was doctor. Which is funny, I actually love math. I think math was one of my strongest subjects, doing like those competitions and such in high school, where only like 3 people from the whole class go through and things like that. But for me, it was when I got sick in college with inflammatory bowel disease right after my first quarter, February of 2009. And that lit a fire under my butt like nothing else.
In fact, till you are a final year student, you still don't understand what this path is all about. Only once you work in the hospital where you see the patients, where you see the condition of our broken system, you'll understand what it actually means to become a doctor in this condition in India. And it is nothing of what you expect. And that's my problem.
Yeah, and same thing in the US. There's a huge disconnect between reality and expectation of being a physician and the training process on how to get there.
If you feel like you want to discontinue, you don't want to be a doctor after 5 years, after 5.5 years of MBBS. You can't just leave now. You can just do 3 years of residency and then you will be a very good MD physician. Just 3 years after that, you can be a super specialist DM cardiologist maybe. Or maybe just do 1 year of fellowship in pediatric cardiology and then you can finally end. Why are you stopping? You're already here. If you stop right now, you'll lose your entire progress of 5.5 years. You'll be set back in life. It will be like you're back 18 years old and you have nothing to show for. Forget getting married, forget having kids, nobody will give their daughter to you. You have literally no source of income, you're 24 years old, and you still live with your parents. Do you feel it? That is pressure. That is exactly what I'm talking about.
If you're almost done getting your MD or your MBBS, or you're in residency and you're almost done, there is some benefit to completing. So I do calls occasionally from time to time with people who are considering quitting. And if they're like a 3rd year med student, more often than not, I'm saying, hey man, there's benefit to you just finishing that 1.5 more years to get your MD. Look at the options, the doors that's gonna open for you. Or if you're halfway through your residency or almost done with your residency, that 1 or 2 more years, you can get board certified, you can open additional doors, have a backup plan, etc. if you change your mind. So there's a lot that goes into these decisions, and it's a lot of long-term planning, long-term mindset. It's not just as simple as, hey, I got this idea, I wanna quit and do this other thing. It's like, well, let's talk about the risk. Let's talk about the pros and cons. And I think when a viewer sees a doctor quitting residency or quitting their attending practice and doing something else, it seems very simple from the outside. Okay, this person was doing this, they quit, now they do that. But there's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes. And there's a lot of decision making, there's a lot of pros and cons and charts and talking to people and all that stuff. I do think the 20s though, it's the time to push your limits, see what you're made of. I do know other people say that, hey, the 20s you gotta enjoy them and explore and travel and you're never gonna do that again. I disagree. I think the 20s is a time to live very intentionally and intensely and try new things. And you can work hard and play hard, and you don't have to just put everything off until your 30s and then you're gonna feel like you're behind. That's stuff that we talk about on other videos.
If I spend the next 8 years of my life perfecting every little nick and cranny of YouTube, or maybe social media in general, there will be no stopping me. Just look at Ali Abdaal for a change. He left his job as a doctor because of the same dilemma that I am having today. And he took all of that energy, those 12-hour shifts, he channeled that into his channel. And look where it brought him. He quadrupled his growth speed and continued making videos that would inspire people. He was also a doctor. He was also working in a broken system. The NHS is not very much different from the Indian system. And in the end, he took a path because he knew he was going to be successful.
Yeah, speaking of Ali Abdaal, we actually talk about his stuff right up here.
So my love-hate relationship is pretty simple. If your degree is just your backup plan, why spend so much time on a backup plan? Why just not spend all of that time into the front plan or the plan which is the first and grow something beautiful out of it?
Well, the issue with that is that a lot of people, I have a lot of friends, especially when my channel started growing, a lot of people in my circle started doing content creation as well, and most of them quit. Because I think a lot of them just see, oh, Kevin made like some videos and now he's at 200K subs after a year. What they don't see is what goes into that. The consistency, the late nights, especially doing that while I was in residency, like a lot of late nights. It takes a lot, and there's also no guarantee that you're gonna succeed. The error in thinking there is that if you wanna do content creation or you wanna be an entrepreneur, that if you just work hard, it's gonna work out and everything's gonna be fine. There's a risk associated there. I think a big reason why a lot of people choose something like healthcare, like medicine, is because it is so much safer of an option. The risk is so much lower. Assuming you get into med school, right? And you complete, attrition rate is very low, but the risk there is much lower than doing content creation or doing entrepreneurship. And that's why it's good to get your feet wet and test that out to see if you like it. See if there is something there for you. So don't give up that thing that is sure for something that is much more uncertain, because you may not actually like that option that seems really sexy, that seems really exciting right now.
So, the conclusion of this video, why don't you just drop out? Stop complaining about all of this. Stop being such a softie. Just drop out and live your life as you're meant to be. Well, that's why this video is called the love-hate relationship. There's still a part of me that believes that we've got some incredible potential. There's still a part of me that feels like this is the only profession that I really want to be at. I'm almost at 1 million subscribers, but I still feel every day more happy when I see a patient and make him feel better than I do while recording these videos. And I guess every medical student who introspects and thinks deeply like me arrives at this conclusion.
Because you making the patient feel better is a human connection where you're helping someone. And we derive a lot of satisfaction from doing so. Helping others is actually paradoxically a selfish endeavor because it makes us feel good in a way, right? When you're sitting here in front of a camera, it's not gonna be as exciting. But assuming that content helps people, changes lives, people reach out to you, they leave comments, they call you, whatever, that's gonna make you feel really good too. So regardless of what you do in life, trying to seek that impact, that's gonna make you a lot happier. You're gonna drive a lot more satisfaction from your work.
That's been it. That's sort of the love-hate relationship that I feel with my medical profession.
Anuj, love your energy, man. Viewers, what do you agree with or disagree with? Let me know below.